Ashley will do the roll call.
Sure, of course. Okay, Danielle Boucher. Here. Sean Hicks. Tom Holt sent in a letter of resignation today. Boyd Nickel.
I'm here.
William Crow. Elizabeth Hines. Fred Miller.
Here.
Catherine Wright.
Here.
Oni Crowley.
Here.
Dwayne Doan.
Here.
Juanetta Hill requested to be excused. Sandra Hummingbird.
Here.
Tom Wheeler.
Here.
And Sylvia Annabelle also requested to be excused. City staff is Teresa Coleman and Ashley Coronado.
Thank you, Ms. Coronado. Do we have the minutes? Ever get the minutes?
I didn't.
You did?
I didn't find them either on mine.
I don't know. I don't
It's
know
also
if I
not on the
received
agenda.
them.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes.
Not on the agenda.
I sent them to you.
Did you?
Yeah, like, you know me, day
I
after.
know you're usually super fast.
Yeah.
I will have them
I
on the
can,
next
I
agenda.
can, but I'll tell you what, I'll just resend them
My
to you.
apologies.
No, I'll resend those.
Around the back. It's on the back end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody there?
Flick it for me, Tony. Flick it for me.
I will make sure to have those attached to the next agenda for approval.
It's on.
All right, then we'll just move on to discussion and possible recommendations, just starting with Article 11, Section 11.1, Magistrate Court Establishment. The city shall establish in the city a magistrate court to be known as the Magistrate Court of the City of Bisbee, County of Cochise, State of Arizona. Section 11.02, State Law Control. The Magistrate Court shall be created in accordance with the general statutes of the state, and all statutes pertaining to the jurisdiction and procedure of said court shall be fully observed. No problems there. Section 11.03, Presiding Officer. The presiding officer of the magistrate court shall be a city magistrate. In section 11.04, Judicial Selection. A, Judicial Selection Committee. The council shall establish a judicial selection committee. Such committee shall be appointed by the mayor with the approval of the council. The committee shall be composed of 5 persons who are residents of the city. At such times as the city magistrate should die, resign in his office, or otherwise be unable to continue in that position, the mayor and the council shall declare that a vacancy exists in the office of the city magistrate. At least 15 days from the termination of that such a vacancy exists, the Judicial Selection Committee shall recommend to the mayor and the council at least 2 persons to fill such vacancy. Any problems with this? B, appointment and term of city magistrates. The city magistrate shall be appointed by the mayor with the approval of the council from the list of those persons recommended by the Judicial Selection Committee for 2 years starting July 1st and each odd year, subject to removal for cause.
Well, so you don't know from section A when there's going to be a vacancy. So in section B, it's quite specific. Say if a vacancy occurs in January and the selection committee says, okay, we recommend this person, then it says here that the person's going to start in 2 years, starting in July 1st. That doesn't jive for me.
I noticed that too. Starting with July 1st.
So if somebody, July 1st, so somebody resigns in August of 2019. And then the selection committee gets together, they've got some timelines there, and they say, okay, Shirley Jones is going to be it. And so then, apparently they recommend that to the mayor and the council, and it goes before the council, and then Shirley Jones is going to be the magistrate. But according to this, she can't take office until July 1st, like 11 months later. So that seems to be an incongruity there.
11 months later, or until 2021?
Yeah, a year plus.
Year and 11
Or
months.
year plus, yeah, or
If you're going by the letter of the law.
yeah.
Each odd year.
So should we throw something in there for a intermediate position?
But isn't what Bisbee has right now under section 11.07, Fred? Because we have the consolidated
Well,
court and it talks about that, because we're not really doing that. You don't have a city magistrate, you make the justice magistrate your city magistrate and whatever his term is up.
That was the question.
That's what it says in 11.07 if you read it.
No, I know, but, you know, going back to this, it says, there is not a magistrate court in Bisbee any longer.
No, we eliminated that because of the expense.
Right, in 2006 that was, I think. But we do have a justice court, so.
And that's what that 11.07
Right,
says.
selection 1101 is wrong, then. The city shall establish a magistrate court to be known as the magistrate court of the city of Bisbee. That's no longer in existence, is my
Well,
understanding.
I think you declare the magistrate court the justice court, you know, it can be one and the same.
Well, it can be, but they're saying that, I mean, it's,
It doesn't say it has to be separate.
no, but it's not known by that. No longer because it's been combined. It's now known as the justice court, I believe. I don't know.
Can I ask a question? So would the magistrate court ever be reinstated in this, for the city of Bisbee? I mean, if we think that that's a possibility, we should leave it there. But if we don't think that's ever going to happen, then we should consider, you know,
I mean,
either
why didn't,
adjusting it or removing it.
yeah, if we eliminated the magistrate court, why didn't this 11 down through 7 just go away?
Mhm.
No,
Well, I
because
think
1104 is necessary
Yeah.
if you have a vacancy, so that says how do you do the
I
vacancy.
see.
I mean, it doesn't say anything either about the magistrate being elected either, which is now it is. But the city is, my understanding that the city got the county to pay the administrative costs of the justice court. And that's why the city no longer has a magistrate court, is because they have a justice court and they shunted the administrative costs off to the county. A very slick maneuver whenever it happened. And all the city does is pay for the magistrate's salary on a contract, not as a city employee, but on a contract.
No longer.
No longer what? It's not
We do not do that any longer.
well, where is it getting paid?
It's been found that we, as other cities in the consolidated court system, we have been paying when they shouldn't have had to, because the way the consolidated court system is set up is that the county is, the city is within the geographic area of the JP, and the JP gets paid a certain sum of money based on population. And so that's, was double dipping. And so the county actually found that out. We discussed that as long ago as 4 or 5, a week ago. Teresa and I were discussing that with the county. So it is a consolidated court system. It's not foreseen that it's gonna go any different, but of course, however you wanna handle that's up to you.
What's
But
the,
we don't any longer pay.
Are we gonna get a refund then?
what's the population break there? I mean, where it's considered consolidated, or where, if we do keep these magistrate court,
Well, there's no,
in here?
only there's no break for whether it's consolidated or not. There's a break in population as to how much the magistrate makes.
Okay, I guess what I was trying to say is, we don't see any changes gonna be made or anything like that. What if the population all of a sudden booms and we have 15,000, 20,000 people?
We'd be the same as Sierra Vista, and that, their JP covers the city court there.
Just gets
Very good, so it's a JP, so we should be,
Do you foresee any possibility of reverting to establishing a magistrate for the city?
Do I?
You know,
Too expensive.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we can certainly leave it the way it is and stuff.
So it
But
strikes me
we're-
that this is all moot.
But, well,
Yeah.
but our charge is coming up the charter.
I think it was left in there just in case. Well, you know, you might get a city, you might get a JP that you don't agree with or that everybody hates in your city. And the outlying area outvotes you and they put somebody and you don't want to be your magistrate, so then you go back and have somebody else be your magistrate. And you start the court up, but there's an expense to that.
Yeah.
If you take it out of there, you'll never have that option in the future, or you'll cut it down anyway.
It would have to be added again. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, that's a charter thing, you just don't do that overnight either.
Right,
so.
exactly, yeah.
Just in terms of nomenclature, is there a city magistrate any longer?
No,
Okay, so then, well,
there's a JP acting as the city magistrate. All a city magistrate means is they handle only city matters, but our JP handles county matters and city matters. So no, there is no city magistrate any longer.
So, section 11.5, all fines, penalties, and fees collected by the city magistrate shall be paid to the properly designated officer, the city authorized to receive them. So, technically, there's no city magistrate, so any fines collected by the JP does
Stay
not-
with the JP.
It stays with the JP, it
Yeah,
doesn't
and
go
that's-
to the city.
That's been the problem, Fred, is that's how it has always been. We've been paying them $12,000 a year, and yet they get all the fines.
Fines.
And so quite bluntly, our police officers go, why do people talk about, why should we write traffic tickets? We don't get any out of it. Where the citizens are saying, you know, the city's stopping all of us because they're trying to make all this money off of
County's
traffic.
making
And that county.
It's our quota.
They don't get any.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend entertaining the idea that we change it, section 11.07 to 11.01, and just keep that in there as a option for future needs. In case we do have to get a magistrate, then we could cite that.
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying, just leave it in there?
Just leave 1107 in there
Remove all the
and
rest.
remove everything else.
Yeah,
Do
from,
you think that's why the previous group left it? Because it would have been, we wouldn't have had a magistrate in 2014 either, so do you think that's why they left it?
Guarantee that's what they left it.
Well, I was on the committee,
Oh,
and I would indicate, I believe we left it because we were operating off the misconception that we had a city magistrate, and that we were, well, we were
Yeah.
paying a city magistrate, you see?
That's in the budget.
Huh, okay.
So you wanna make that a formal,
Whoa.
Well, I want to get a discussion on it.
I think the
Because then you'd
section,
have to change
the
Article
section
11.
really needs to be rewritten. A judicial selection committee, I mean, if there's no magistrate, then there is no power within the city to select a magistrate. If there's no magistrate, that section 1104, which is if there's a vacancy, that the city can select somebody, that is not lawful any longer.
But would 1107 come into play? If
Well,
we needed
1107, I
to create
mean,
a
but,
magistrate?
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can get to 1107, but all the stuff up here deals with the city magistrate. If there's no city magistrate, this stuff does not apply. So you can put in something like 1107 instead of all of this stuff.
I think
That's
that's
what
what, that's what.
That's what he's saying.
But,
what
yeah,
it
but
is.
no, but.
1 through 6 and start 1107 is 1101.
And then you'd have to change,
Which all the rest of
Article
the
11, magistrate court, because you're just removing all the magistrate court.
Right.
Then it becomes judicial court,
Now, you do,
or justice court.
yeah, you do in that paragraph, have a provision that if there's a change in the justice of the peace,
And it says, or otherwise, that leaves it wide open.
you can, right,
Which we ought to have in our favor.
right, the committee can make a recommendation as to whether any consolidation agreement should continue or a new magistrate should be appointed, which takes you back to your procedure starting at
Well,
11.01.
well, then if we make this one this is kind of like a if you need to do this clause, and then the rest of them are like defining how you go about doing it.
Then you have to reword all of it.
Yeah,
Just renumber them, starting
just
in.
renumber them, I would say. Unless I'm missing something.
Well, the last sentence on the,
Or do we need to go there?
that's section 1107,
Yeah.
the last sentence on that, on the next page there, you know, kind of been added to it, and there, you could tell that they were added to right there. Because that way that it could just remain in effect, or if it isn't, it's no, you know, a new magistrate should be appointed. I suggest that we just leave it alone.
Well, I know, but that's,
But
it's not what our charge is.
well, it makes a certain sense, and then we have to realize that every one of these things has to be voted on by city council and costs money.
And it costs money.
I
That's
know, but but it's the city charter, and the city charter should be accurate. It shouldn't be kinda,
There we are,
yeah,
there we are, yeah.
so,
We gotta remember that old dogs, it's a whole new era.
It's been 30 years since the original one, so
um,
it's stood the test of time. If you look at all the revisions that have happened over the 30 years, they've all been pretty minor.
yeah, they have.
The major parts of it are still intact and haven't been changed
Sure.
much.
For clarification, if we make the changes to this that we're talking about, hypothetically, do we have to include this particular change on the voting ballots for the
Yes.
Yeah, anything
Every
we
single
vote to
thing
do.
we change has
Yeah.
to
becomes an
Comes
item
out
of
of
voting?
that,
Yes.
yeah.
That's leave it alone.
i.e. verbatim.
And you have to, publicity pamphlet, you have to print it out, it has to be on the ballot, the whole shot. You have to put, and anytime you strike a word, you gotta write the whole damn thing up. It's like,
Then let's, I recommend we move on.
I second that.
So do we have to vote on it if we're just leaving it alone?
No,
Okay,
we're
good.
just, we're just being facetious here.
Okay.
We're a very serious group here. Okay, let's move on to section 11.07 and consolidated justice courts, which is the reality apparently. The mayor and council, upon receipt of a recommendation by the Judicial Selection Committee, may authorize the consolidation of the city magistrate court with the justice court in the manner authorized by state law. In the event of any such consolidation, each designated justice of the peace may be authorized to continue to serve as the city magistrate without the requirement for subsequent or additional recommendations by the Judicial Selection Committee. The mayor and council may at any time, at their discretion, upon a change of the justice of the peace or otherwise appoint a judicial selection committee to consider and to make recommendations as to whether any consolidation agreement should continue to remain in effect or a new magistrate should be appointed.
that leaves it wide open.
I think that says it pretty clearly. Smith. I agree with you. Should we move on to Article 12? Okay, franchise and public utilities, section 12.0.1, elections for approval of franchise. No franchise shall be granted, extended, or renewed by the city without the approval of a majority of the qualified electors residing within its corporate limits, voting thereon at a primary, general, or special election. The council shall submit any matter for approval or disapproval of such electors at any primary or general election or call a special election for such purpose. The council shall require, before calling any such election, that the estimated expense thereof to be determined by the council should be first deposited by the applicant for such franchise with the city clerk. No franchise shall be granted, extended, or renewed for a longer time than 25 years.
I still have difficulty understanding what a franchise is.
Arizona Water Company,
As a
Arizona
friend,
Public Service.
Cable One, Sparklight. And I think the phone company has something different. They don't have a franchise fee, they have other taxes and stuff that they got on their equipment. But I do know that the cable TV and the water company, and I think the gas company, all have franchise fees.
So the city negotiates with these various entities, franchises such as Sparklight,
Who will serve us?
for a duration of a contract, and they set fees for it. And they set the fees that are paid to the city, and they set the fees that the company suggests being paid for by their customers. So every year there's, for instance, there's a bump in the internet fees.
And does the city agree on that?
No.
They don't have, you,
No,
they,
they
do they
don't.
No,
inform
and
you?
you don't have anything to say
do
about
I
it.
do receive a letter letting me know,
Oh.
like, they're gonna
Oh,
add or
okay.
remove a
Do we have any
channel or
franchises
increase.
coming up? I think most of them are, you know, because it's only once every 25, I remember
Yeah,
last
the
time.
last one was Sparklight, back when it was,
And I think
a couple of years ago.
part of that is that they would give us, on their TV channel that they would show. That was part of their agreement,
Channel 2.
Channel 2.
Correct.
Oh,
So that's what a franchise is.
Yeah.
Anybody who's providing services to the city.
Franchises
City,
should
yeah,
be enabled to
Thank you, I
use
didn't
the
know.
streets and the byways and the right-of-ways and stuff of the city,
Exactly.
so, and that's where all
They're
our
utilizing
utilities.
city properties. So they pay to utilize city properties, streets. So that's up to us. Okay, move on to section 12.02, establishment of municipally owned and operated utilities. This is, shall have the power to own and operate any public utility, to construct and install all facilities that are reasonably needed, and to lease or purchase any existing utility properties used or useful to public service. The city may also furnish service to adjacent and nearby territories which may be conveniently and economically served by the municipality owned and operated utility. The council may provide by ordinance for the establishment of such utility and provide for its regulation and control and fixing the rates to be charged. The council may, by ordinance, provide for the extension, enlargement, or improvement of existing utilities and provide reasonable reserves for such purpose. This, of course, is another one of those moot points in that we do not have any of these things.
No, we can't, but
We could.
but it said, yeah,
Well,
We could, yeah.
Well,
I think it's a good
But-
idea.
yeah.
But you know, my feeling on this section right here is, wouldn't you wanna have this done by a vote of the people rather than by an ordinance? I mean, this is something pretty major. It's a major thing to do a city-owned utility and operate a utility, and to do that by the whim of a council and an ordinance rather than a vote of the people, because it's something that we're all gonna be paying for, it's a big deal.
Of course, talking about the only way you're ever gonna be able to do that is to float a bond or, something, a tax, something that would require.
Yeah, but you know, it's something you might wanna think about, put down in writing that you want this to be a vote of the people rather than an ordinance. If you're gonna have to do a bonding and everything else, it's just another step. Something to think about.
I wish we had an old timer here because there was a proposal years ago to buy Arizona Water Company and it fell through and I don't.
I remember that.
Yeah, are you old enough to remember that? I
Couldn't
don't
get the
remember.
financing.
Is that what it was? I don't know the outcome of that.
And there's a big lawsuit going on at the same time, and it just got really,
That's the same time that they were suing us because we were giving our effluent away. So that was a violation of our agreement with them, that we would give our effluent we gave it to Phelps Dodge so they could put it on their reclamation.
I'm comfortable with the council doing that myself, just because there's some checks and stuff. Because at some point, I would hope that the city would actually take a look at providing internet services to the city.
A lot of places
Maybe
have done it.
rural places and some modest-sized towns have done that.
now, I've got a question, and I'd like to try and get clarification here. We own the sewer facilities, right?
Yes, and garbage.
And is it worded in here that we can lease out the operation to an outside party?
No, but it need to be.
Yeah, it doesn't need,
Doesn't need to be.
Okay.
that's a council decision. Okay, so I think we should leave it in there simply because theoretically at some point the city might become flush. If you want to get into the water business, or I think the internet business would be much more likely, but.
What should you use that word flush?
Yes.
Straight or oil?
All right, let's move on to Article 13, Public Records. All city officers, employees, and members of the public bodies of the city shall comply with all applicable state and federal laws regarding the preservation, maintenance, care, and disclosure of all public records of the city. All records and accounts of every office, department, or agency of the city shall be open for inspection by any citizen, any representative of a citizen's organization, or any representative of the press at all reasonable times and under such reasonable regulations established by the city council, except those records and documents which are exempt from disclosure by state or federal laws or by the order of a court of competent jurisdiction of the state of Arizona or the United States of America. In addition, a copy of all official city ordinances, resolutions, budgets, official planning documents, and this charter should be placed in a clearly designated area of the Bisbee Public Library as soon as practical after publication. Questions on that? Moving on to section 14, 1, official bonds. All elected and appointed officers and such employees as the council may by general ordinance require shall give bond in such surety and amount as to be ordained by the council. The premiums for such bonds should be paid by the city.
This, if I might,
Please.
Mr. Chair, this particular section is not being used. The reason that it's not being used is when this was originally written, bonding was a important aspect. Now it's covered through insurance.
Insurance, right.
And so we do not bond city manager as an example. We don't bond any of us because the insurance policy covers all of those things.
That's what a bond was, basically.
Yes, sir.
wasn't it?
And so all I'm saying is do whatever you wish, of course, but this is something that's not being done. And we don't
And
foresee
we
that it will
wouldn't go
be.
back to that.
No.
It's a totally different world now. Do you have a thought? That was a big.
Well,
Yeah. I
doesn't
don't
that
know.
word may and section 1401 sort of leave everything wide open, so?
Makes an option.
Yeah, but we're section 1403
Like
is what we're
opens up a
utilizing.
big loophole.
Sure, that's, however, as I just indicated, it isn't. But if we recall back on the city manager, it said they will be bonded.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
That was a separate one.
Yes, sir.
That was just for him, so.
I think it could be left because of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there may come a time when things change,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it does, comes back.
And charter is not an
Yes.
easy thing to change, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, May is a wonderful word.
It is.
Yeah.
We use a few of those.
At times.
It's deliberately done that way. Okay, section 14.02, oath of office. Every officer of the city, whether elected or appointed under the provisions of this charter or under any ordinance of the city, shall, before entering upon the duties of his office, take and subscribe an oath of office in the form of the official oath required by the state constitution. So we're required by the state, that's kind of moved there too. Section 1403, liability insurance. The council shall provide liability coverage for the city and its officers, agents, employees, and members of boards and commissions while engaged in governmental or proprietary capacities.
Proprietary.
Excuse me, that's right. Well, easy for you to say.
What he said.
Any problem with that? Okay. God, I wasted all that money going to college.
Didn't study English.
No, I didn't. Section 1404, short title. This charter adopted by the people of the city of Bisbee shall be known and be cited as the charter of the city of Bisbee, Arizona.
Seems to be,
That was the easiest decision.
that's what's on the face of your charter of the city of Bisbee, so I didn't know about the short title there.
I know.
It's the charter, it's the charter.
What's the long title?
Yeah. Section 1405, say it for me.
Severability.
Thank you. Cause. If any provision of this charter is held invalid, the other provisions of the charter shall not be affected thereby. If the application of the charter of any of its provisions to any persons or circumstances is held invalid, the application of the charter and its provisions to other persons or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. covering things. Section 14.406, violations of charter and city ordinances, imprisonment of violators. The violation of any provisions of this charter may be prosecuted as a misdemeanor by the authorities of the city in the name of the state of Arizona, or may be redressed by civil action at the option of the council. The violation of any ordinances of the city may be prosecuted as a misdemeanor or as a civil violation. Any person sentenced to imprisonment for a violation of a provision of this charter or of any ordinance may be imprisoned in the place designated by the city. No comments on that? Okay. Section 14.07, plenary and implied powers of the council. The council have plenary powers to enact and make all proper and necessary ordinances, resolutions, and orders to carry out and give effect to the express as well as the implied powers granted in this charter, to that end that a complete, harmonious, and effective municipal, harmonious, effective municipal government may be initiated, installed, operated, and maintained in the city, and thereby protect and safeguard the rights, interests, safety, morality, health, and welfare of the city and its inhabitants.
Does this mean all these troublemakers can be caught on this?
No, it says harmonious municipal government. Does not say anything about the residents.
Maybe we could add that.
Maybe we can add that.
And then, have imprisonment as the
That's the
consequence.
consequence, yeah.
Can you tell this whole page was plagiarized from other cities?
Indeed.
Some highfalutin language.
As I said, much of this is boilerplate. Section 14.08, council meetings to be recorded. All meetings of the busy city councils, unless legally exempt, shall be broadcast on local access channels upon availability and video recorded for the permanent record. Maybe trouble that. Gender. Whenever the context of this instrument so requires, words used in the masculine gender include the feminine and neuter. The singular number includes the plural, and the plural the singular. The word person includes a corporation, is that alive? Company, partnership, association, or society, as well as a natural person.
Didn't we last time say that we recommended that the one that the attorney wrote up be put in place of this?
No, because we haven't discussed this.
Where did that?
Any discussion of the gender stuff was gonna be till now, till we
Yeah, but
discussed.
we had this last meeting, and we talked about it.
Yeah, where does that?
No, we didn't.
And then we decided that this would take place of changing all those other gender things.
I don't remember that it was a decision like that.
I think we acknowledged we got it,
Yeah.
but I don't remember.
Okay.
Well, let's take this.
Okay, well, I think this is fantastic what you wrote.
But
And
do we
it
need
should replace what we have in here, Article 15 should be replaced by this prohibition against discrimination.
I have a procedural kind of question. Can we suggest, whether we adopt this language or other language, be put at the very start of the city charter, Article 1, Section 1, point, and have this statement or something like it be put there, so that when people read this document, they will read it with the intent of, yeah.
Already knowing
As
instead
an
of
order.
going back
And we
and
talked
trying to
about
find
that,
it.
and then you'll have to remember the whole.
No, I don't think you have to, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, under Article 1, if you put Section 1 point,
1.1.1?
no, 1 point. And
I
then
understand.
after that, you have 1.01. It's not used like that throughout the document,
Right.
but it's legal, it follows the numerical system of indexing. You
It
can do
does?
something like that. Yeah, you can do something like that, if you choose to do that. I was doing a little research on it.
Cool.
But it's not used like that. The single numeral is not used in any of the articles. I mean, under any of the articles. What's started is, the section then starts 1.01 or 1.102, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But you can insert something, I think we can insert something, and it would be coherent to put section 1 point there for the gender stuff.
Okay. And then what would you do with Article 15?
Then you change Article 15 to the discrimination clause. You put the first paragraph of what the attorney says right at the start. And then on Article 15, you put
Change the gender to no person shall be
to
appointed.
the
right?
anti-discrimination clause.
Yeah.
And just a suggestion, I've been kind of thinking about how to do that, because sticking it way back here, it's just not real helpful, I don't think.
What would be wrong with making it D, as in David,
D where?
under exercise of powers?
What's the article?
1.02.
Article one,
That's form of-
section
1.02 is form
1.02.
of government.
Powers of the city.
You can't put it in, I mean, I thought of that, I mean, that would be the thing, you could put it under, D, you could put it under incorporation, but it's still, it doesn't pertain to that particular topic.
Right, so what you're saying is just
Put it right here,
start right there.
Right there,
One,
section
one
1 point.
there, and before we even get into incorporation
Right.
or form of
Yeah.
government.
The other
Just
thing
put that-
I thought of, and I don't know whether that's legal to do, is whether you can put a note at the start of this under, it says adopted June 7, blah, 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 it's November 4, 2014, whether you can put a note there saying adopted in 2020, the following, and that would be the gender clause there. So it would not be under a heading,
Would be under an article.
it wouldn't be under an article, right?
I thought we talked about that before. Am I having
I think you're
delusions here?
thinking about this in your
Too
sleep.
much. Oh, could be.
And I don't know whether
We
you
were
can
told we
put,
couldn't do that. It had to be something specific in here. You can't. See, I said put just a disclaimer at the very top
Isn't,
about the gender.
Is it-
Article lowercase?
well, but, isn't us declaring that there'll be no discrimination our powers as a city? Can that go under powers of the city?
Well,
it's an anti-discriminating
we're
form of
talking about the
government.
charter, not the city doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, but he's talking about form of government, article, section 1.02.
Yeah. Rod, we can also
three powers
check
of the
on
city.
the possibility of adding an article lowercase I. That would be
And
before article uppercase I.
wouldn't the article uppercase I go before a lowercase I?
No.
Really? Well, you sure?
I'm
Big it,
thinking when
capital
there's
A
like
before cap-
No, because that's like your prefix or your preamble, or, would be the lowercase I.
Okay, I mean,
So it's a possibility. I can check on that for you if it's important to be able to set it alone.
what, somehow I'd like to stick the gender thing right at the start.
Okay.
Now, however that can work.
So what Sandra said when she said, I don't know if disclaimer is the right word,
Yeah.
but is there a word, like a specific word, the disclaimer that's saying, and we can just put gender and discrimination right there, boom. Clearly, right at the very
Or disclaimer.
intent of the charter, and then start? Is it but I don't know if
We
disclaimer
can
is the
check
right
into that for
word.
you too.
That's the way they do it in all kinds of literature and legal statements, put a little disclaimer at the top saying.
We'll check with the League of Cities and Towns to.
Yep, we'll
To see-
find a way to
What can't you?
Okay.
find out how to
But,
appropriately
yeah,
move it to the
Could
top.
you move it to the top?
Yeah.
Well, good,
Got a
thank you.
preamble on this?
And then the alternatives, either to have I'm fine with what the attorney put down, to
Okay,
have that whole statement there, or just the first paragraph about gender and the rest of it, the non-discrimination thing moved to Article 15.
Only just brought up a good question. Could we put it in as a preamble?
or around the table of contents? And then, or right after the table of contents and make a preamble?
I know not.
That's kind of what I was
Yeah, that's.
indicating, that we would talk to the League of Cities and Towns.
There was.
Whatever,
Right,
Where
if
we
we
can
can get it out
stick it.
there, when it has to be called,
right,
Okay.
and if
And
it
that would
doesn't
be-
have to have a number,
then we'll, that can be the preamble to.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, but.
Okay, so
Because the
you're
way
saying,
that
what
thing
you're
is worded,
saying is that
it's a perfect preamble to.
what he wrote would be that first sentence, and then the rest of it would be in Article 15.
I don't know, they can,
We're
No,
gonna
I
check
mean,
it
is
out.
that what you would
I think the
suggest?
first
that,
paragraph.
that's what I would
First
suggest,
paragraph,
is the
yeah.
first paragraph
Oh, the first
be,
paragraph.
be what we say, because that pertains to
Gender.
the,
Okay.
yeah, the gender pertains to the whole charter. The other one is very specific, it says we don't discriminate,
Okay,
so that would,
and that would be 15.
and that would be 15 then. And change, and the heading of that would be changed to like non-discrimination or something like that, instead of gender.
Good. I agree.
Okay, now do we need to make a motion on
I
that?
think we need to find out how it gets done and maybe make a motion next week.
Okay.
Does that sound good? I'll just put a note
Take a
that
look. Thank
about
you.
all of this in the minutes.
Minutes,
Ashley, that's what you would do? Okay, great.
Cool.
Who's our, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
So then we drop down to Article 16 here, which is rights of officers and employees preserved. And we're thinking of changing this to this one paragraph. That is, nothing in this charter contained except as specifically provided shall affect or impair the rights or privileges of officers or employees of the city or any office, department, or agency existing at the time when this charter takes effect, or any provision of law in force at the time this charter shall take effect, and not inconsistent with provisions of this charter in relation to the personnel, employment, rank, grades, tenure of office, promotion, removal, pension, retirement, rights, civil rights, or any other rights or privileges of officers or employees of the city or any office, department, or agency.
You would want to mess with that.
let me,
Mayor Smith says.
because Tom is one of them that wrote this. When I was on this last time, we had all kinds of language in there about once the charter takes effect, if you're on the council now, you know, and on and on and on. And that stayed in there that whole time, after all of these years, and took up all this room in the charter, and it wasn't needed because it had been taken care of 27, 30 years ago.
It was only for the very first,
It was for the first time.
first 2-year term and 4-year term, how we split everything up.
Exactly, and so everybody, up to our point, wanted it kept for nostalgic reasons, saying, oh, it's so wonderful because it's our original charter and we should keep it in there. Well, a lot of that was taken out, so I'm just bringing this up, that these next two in part are also the fact that upon this charter taking effect,
I got you, right, right.
and I'm suggesting, I'm not suggesting, but I'm suggesting
Please.
that y'all take a good look at that, make sure that we really need that in there, or you want it in there, that's all.
Okay, let me read that one more time then. Rights of the officers and employees, I mean, it's really an awkward writing. Nothing in this charter contained, except as specifically provided, shall affect or impair the rights or privileges of officers or employees of the city or of any office, department, or agency existing at the time when this charter takes effect, or any provision of law enforces at the time this charter shall take effect, and not inconsistent with the provisions of this charter in relation to the personnel, appointment, rank, grades, tenure of office, promotion, removal, pensions, and retirement rights, civil rights, or any other rights or privileges of officers or employees of the city or any office, department, or agency.
Well, you may think that's just when the people vote, this will be the charter now. So it's when this charter takes effect,
If approved.
if approved, this charter. So it's really not just nostalgic,
Oh, I got you.
say for the
I see what you're
old
saying.
one.
Yes, I
It's
understand.
this charter now.
Right, okay.
It's just a revision, you know, it's like the 5th revision or the 6th revision or whatever we had over the time.
But I think we should keep that, because it is this one that we've made the changes to. If we make the changes to.
I don't know, I think section 1602 and 03 is, probably should be deleted, because it really is, it talks about the changeover, and everything's gonna be the same. It was to assure people that when the charter came into effect, that everybody wasn't gonna lose their job. That's what that was there for, and so, it's 30 years on, it's not needed anymore.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
yeah, but my point is, it might be, because this is the
Because
charter
they're
now.
talking about two different sections. You're talking about section 1601, Tom just said 1602 and 3.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing though, I mean, my point is the same for all of this.
Well, no.
But I would think, like Tom, everything in 1 is still covered in 2 and 3. If we keep 1, because it, you know, that's pretty clear there that
Yeah, let me go then read on down to 1602, the continuance of present officers. All persons holding administrative office at the time this charter takes effect shall continue in office and in performance of their duties until provisions have been made in accordance therewith and for the performance of such duties or the discontinuance of such office. And the continuance of present offices, departments, or agencies conduct business, any office, department, agency provide for in this charter to be named or with powers and duties of the same or substantially the same as those heretofore existing shall be deemed a continuation of such office, department, or agency, and shall have powers to continue any business proceedings of other matters, office, department, or agency not provided for in this charter heretofore. Heretofore existing shall heretofore exercised and shall have the power to continue any business proceedings or other matters within the scope of its regular powers and duties until such office as department or agency shall be changed or abolished by the council as heretofore provided in this charter. Verbiage. What do you think, Thomas? You think that?
Charter took effect in June of 1988, so, I mean, we still got this in there. It's probably for the same reason people were hesitant to take it out. Sometimes because of the cost of whenever you change anything, it's gonna cost you some money, so they just said, forget about it, leave it in. But it's not needed. I don't think, I think 02, 03, 04,
Yeah, I don't think 04, let me see.
you know, I think all of those are just, it talks about the transfer and about, and that was all put in there because there was apprehension about people in the city when the charter was taking effect, that some people might lose their jobs and, you know.
Contracts
Get
would be
rid of people.
canceled or
That's
something
why
like that.
that's why the charter came in, because people were under fear of losing their job at any time, so. That's why the charter was originally written, changed things around.
So you think 16.01 should stay, and then as Tom suggested, 02, 03, 04 be stricken?
Yeah, do we need to keep 1601? Because we've got all of the rights of employees.
Yeah, you might take that.
done all, like in previous articles, right? So,
I'd say probably
In fact,
keep
all
that.
of 16, probably all of 16.
Article 16 could be
I would
gone.
just strike the whole,
so this becomes, it's not applicable any longer, and anything that might be important is in the previous articles.
Yeah.
we've been there.
Teresa, you got any thoughts on this?
Well, I would agree that, that
Strike
is
the whole
correct.
article.
Yeah,
it's become obsolete.
yeah.
In 89.
I move that Article 16, succession in government, be stricken in its entirety.
Do we have a second?
I'll
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We will X out Article 16.
Oh,
That was fun.
That was exhilarating.
Made me feel powerful.
Gone.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet, that's right.
Only partially.
All right, let's move on to Article 17 amendments. Amendments. I can say it from where you're on.
Amendments.
A suggestion, since we're, well, I guess we're at the end, suggestions. Never mind.
Okay.
Never minding.
I was gonna say each of us read a section so that we all have a little buy-in.
Oh,
Oh, please, go ahead.
No,
We're too late.
Yeah, we're too late, there's two more paragraphs to read, so.
We've got 2 more pages.
I didn't mean to talk then.
No.
I don't even do it very well.
That's it, that's all we got left.
Okay, Article 17, amendments, Section 17.01, method of amendment. This charter or any part thereof may be amended in the manner provided by the Constitution and laws of the state. So that's pretty obvious. Charter review, Section 1702, the mayor, with the approval of the council, shall appoint a committee of electors, 4 from each ward, to review the charter for the applicability and content to best serve the city of Bisbee and its citizens, at least once every 5 years. The first such review to be 5 years from the date of acceptance of this charter. Elected city officials, appointed city department heads, and city employees are prohibited from serving on this committee. You agree with that? Okay. To assist the Charter Review Committee's task, and if they are available and willing to serve, one of the original freeholders, and members of the most recent Charter Review Committee shall be appointed by the same method as non-voting ex officio members of committee for advisory purposes.
Okay, so this says at least once every 5 years. That means it could be called, like say next
You could do it
year,
every year if you wanted to, but at least once every 5.
but it has to be every 5. Okay.
It's been pretty close to that, it's been a little off a couple times, but,
This is odd.
huh?
This is odd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is longer
14
than,
was the last
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So 1702.
well, it was
one more
actually
paragraph.
approved in 15.
So,
So, but yes, it was written in 14. And so, we weren't able to get a committee together.
And we just finished that last part of 1702. To begin the first meeting of the committee, the mayor or designees shall explain the charter review process that is to be followed, as well as the steps the proposed amendments must follow to become implemented into the charter. The position of a member on the committee may be declared vacant after 3 unexcused absences, with a member to be replaced according to the original designation process. And that's the end of the charter.
The end.
I did have
Congratulations.
I had a question here. It says April 2012 revision. And then it goes on to say that it could be city charter November 2014. So what's happening there? What does that mean?
It went to the voters in 14. They
So the
meant-
revision was in 12?
Yes.
And it didn't go to the next election?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
general.
And then took effect, yes.
See, okay. Okay.
So are some of the things that we've had questions on, do we have answers yet?
Well, like on the gender
tax?
thing, we're gonna be waiting on, so we need to have at least one more meeting.
The one thing I definitely want looked at is that tax thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say this, we've not gotten any response on that.
Which section is that, Fred?
I'm looking.
that was 2 meetings ago, right?
Maybe 3.
Yeah, because we talked about it last.
Taxing powers,
Taxing code, yeah, where is
on
it?
15, page
On page 50, okay. Yeah, that seems to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was-
16.
it was
Yeah,
two-
16,602.
2 meetings ago.
oh, okay,
And it was a tax.
602.
If the city council
No,
would
that's-
have the power to levy
Oh, and plug it.
taxes.
7.058
Six
is what I had in my minutes, right?
70 what?
7.05A
7,
is what I had in the minutes.
7,
Oh, that's for tax?
Yeah, we haven't
Yeah.
got to that legal.
And then-
Yeah, there it is, yeah, yeah.
And then we also had a question about real property, asked legal about easements.
Ease.
Yeah.
And then, didn't we have something about the prior approval of construction? On page 2,
Page 2.
yeah, prior approval of construction. I've got my notes, say come back to this.
No, I think we added stairs to,
No, that was I, talking
Aye.
about G,
Oh, gee, it said the city to
No.
follow the code?
yeah.
That's what I had written down there in my notes. It said something about the city following the code. Wasn't that Peyton or somebody said?
no, Sean.
Somebody said it.
Yeah, but I don't think that we agreed to that.
No,
No,
but
all my
that's
note
what it
is,
said.
it just says come back to it,
Oh,
to talk
Yeah,
about.
mine too.
oh, okay, he did that.
Okay, let's go back first to this thing with the taxes here, which is page 18, is that right? Tax levy and any tax or assessment other than the annual levy and assessment?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is actions, let's go to the front of this, actions requiring an ordinance. You need an ordinance to levy any tax or assessment other than the annual levy and assessment of the amount to be raised by primary and secondary property taxation, which may be done by resolution. I don't know what the question is on this. Why are we questioning this?
Well,
Any
that the
tax,
council can do it, not the people. Wasn't that your point, Fred?
there was a conflict because tax increases have to go to the voters
That's right, yeah,
of
and
any
this says
kind. And
it,
it seems to say here that the council can do that. And that was, I wanted a point of
that
clarification.
by ordinance, they can levy any tax or assessment other than the annual levy. So if they wanted to add an extra tax, the city council can do it according to
But
this.
doesn't this say by property taxation, property taxes?
No, it says right at 705, right up there, it says, but those acts of the city council shall be by ordinance, which says tax. They can do a tax by ordinance, and I'm not
It says which
disputing
they
whether
can
it's
do-
right or wrong, it's just that I don't think that follows,
We can't.
you can't, right?
No, it's that simple. Taxes have to go to the voter.
And if it's gonna go to the voters, it has to be approved by resolution by the council to be
Correct.
placed on.
On the ballot,
To the ballot.
right.
Maybe that's what it's supposed to say,
Could-
yes, that's, okay, that's.
Could,
Yeah, it says-
would you ask the city attorney to give some language for that then?
Yes.
Either abolish it or
Or make that clear.
make it clear,
As
whatever.
clear as, Ms. Ashley said.
And then, Esther, is it possible to put out a document that tells us all the stuff that
That's
we...
what I was gonna have ready for you before the next meeting.
Okay, cool.
So you guys had an idea of everything you wanted to change, so we actually had a strike through and what it's going to be.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Okay, I will
So,
send you.
so the only tax, it looks like, Fred, that has to go to a vote of the people is sales tax. Everything else is, just a vote of the council. That's the way it said, because on section 6.02G, that's where it says sales tax and it talks about vote of the people.
Which one?
6.02G
That's okay.
on page 16.
Tom, I think that the state, I believe, Tom, the state requires us to take all taxes to the
All
voter.
taxes.
See, we take bed tax as an example.
Yeah, I think when we put that on there, though, the state didn't require
I
that.
believe you're right.
We were before the state, so.
Yes, yes, I do believe you're right.
That's just a TPT tax.
Your sales tax, yeah. So
See,
that's the biggest chunk of taxes that we get. Sales tax is huge, so.
Well, it's not that huge, unfortunately.
Well,
Go out and buy something,
If it
please.
gets on the ballot and it gets increased, it'll be all right.
Safeway gets my share, so.
I know, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna ask for clarification on that 7.05A,
Yeah.
clarifying that,
Yeah.
okay, tax. And what was the other one now? I haven't got my finger on it now. Page 2, come back to old comprehensive plan, page 2. The city of Benneby shall maintain a comprehensive plan defined as a written document that includes short-range, 1 to 2 years, and long-range, 3 to 5 years, goals, focuses for city operations revisited annually. This plan may serve as a guide for departmental priorities, future physical development, land use regulations, capital improvements, and annual funding allocations. Additionally, the council may by ordinance adopt plan, land use, and developmental regulations, including but not limited to an official map, zoning, and subdivision regulations.
I thought, wasn't Shawnee talking about G?
Yeah,
That's
he wanted out too.
He wanted to include the city in having to have this approval of construction. The city may require it, it's saying of the development of any building or structure prior, but he wanted specifically in there for the city to be, also have to follow that. I think that's what his point was.
But doesn't F tell you that?
I thought it did myself, I didn't think it needed to be changed
I didn't
myself,
either. I didn't either.
but I think that's what.
And I think we finally talked it, because I've got the notes there, that it was questions in the beginning, but with discussion, we approved it and come through it.
And that's all
I've
I,
got that we needed to move on, and we'll come back to it later.
But it's definitely something that Shawnee said,
sorry, Tom.
So what's,
So,
huh?
so I think
Sorry.
our next thing is when the document comes off from Ashley, then we take a look at it at our next meeting.
I missed the first session, I was on the other side of the country.
That's okay.
It's no excuse.
It's
And
like,
This last one.
I was under the impression we were gonna be starting later. There's a thing that I had in the back of my mind was there any discussion on term limits for council? And
yes,
Oh, yes, we beat that up good.
what was the final
No,
conclusion?
that
Leave it.
was last meeting, right?
I think no change.
no change.
No change.
You mean on the term of mayor from 4 year, or from 2 years, to maybe 4, or different? on that,
Term
or-
limits, he's saying.
Term limits.
Oh, term limits, term
Yeah.
limits.
Oh, yeah, no, we left it.
We left it as it is. No term limits, right?
And was it kind of unanimous, or was
Mhm.
We talked about it, and then the idea was, it's just hard enough to get people
To run.
to run.
Yeah, with term limits, if you really do have somebody that's a good person, then you end up throwing them out after 2 terms and getting somebody that's good.
Oh,
Because nothing happens anymore between 4 and 8 years anyway.
Mhm.
So if you got anything happening, we visited this, we argued
Yeah.
about this quite a bit.
Okay, so we have a couple of things we're hoping to hear from the city on, including this gender issue, and how to put that into this, the legal thing,
Tax.
and the tax thing. Anything else?
Those were the only things outstanding.
The other thing I have noted,
There was a few other language things, I think, that was
Yeah.
suggested, and there was one, something, oh, why didn't I take it
You gotta remember, when this charter was put together, we didn't have internet, so
Yeah.
that was before internet.
Yeah, there, I do have
So
some
we
websites.
basically got a physical copy of every city's charter, I think there was 20 of them or something like that, and we got a copy for each member on the charter committee and the board of freeholders, and we just basically took scissors to them, cut out the sections we liked and pasted them together. And then added a few other little things just for us, and voila.
So may I ask the city, when would be a good time for us to have this final meeting?
We've got it.
Schedule.
I think they're scheduled April 13th.
13th?
Tax date?
April, no, the day before.
13th.
Oh, wait.
2 days before.
What do you mean tax
Okay.
day? Mine's
So,
March 15th.
Mine's April.
Our plan,
Yeah.
our plan for you then will be to get you a red line copy, and the answers to your questions,
Yes. Yep.
so that when you come here, you can do whatever you wanna do with that. And maybe, I mean, I'm not pushing, maybe finalize everything the next time,
Yep.
and then we can get it to the council. So again, while I've got the bully pulpit, I wanna thank you all for your hard work.
I have a question.
Congratulations.
Who presents this to the council? The chair of this meeting or who?
Or just an agenda item.
We'll have the chair there, I mean, you all are welcome,
Yeah,
but the chair will be there to answer questions of the council.
but who presents it to the council? This is what we're gonna, this is what we suggest. I know you have to go through each one, it won't be just in writing.
It's
but-
just
Well, we-
presented in the
But she's
form of
gonna-
an
she's gonna
ordinance,
do-
whether
Right.
council votes it up or down, and then it will come back as a
The whole
resolution.
thing,
Just your changes,
Right now,
whatever
we're here.
changes
but
you guys,
each change.
each change that you guys vote to send forward to council.
Okay, that's my question, who presents that? Is it just in paper form?
It's in paper form, yes.
Including-
So nobody has to read it like we do
2.19.
here?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, they'll read it,
Well,
but
hopefully,
not.
the
Council should
council
read it.
reading it.
Council has
Before the
to
meeting,
have-
hopefully they'll be
Yeah.
before
Oh,
the
they
meeting.
get it before, they get it
Oh, yeah.
before the meeting.
Christine
Yeah,
was
so it's like
talking
council
back as she
action.
walked into the meeting.
Okay.
So
It'll be a
table this
council
item
action.
until the end. for
Sandra, they
consideration
give it
of possible
Wednesday
increase the number of
afternoon to Thursday.
petitioners
Oh,
for
well, let's see
citizen
what we got
petitions.
today.
Before the
You
meeting.
wanna talk about that right?
So they have the
Yeah,
whole weekend.
before we adjourn, section 2.19 on table, on page 8.
Wait, one at a time.
Consideration of petitions, we had voted to table that. Section 2.19 on table, on page 8, consideration of petitions.
Right,
And we were going to come back to that.
and what we were questioning was possibly increase the number of petitioners for citizen petitions. Because I think the problem is that just when one person stands up, you know,
One name on a petition.
yeah, then it's,
And
it's not
has it been a
effective.
problem in 30 years? No.
Yes, sir, it has.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the
Oh,
reason
yeah.
we brought it up, right?
It has many, many times, Tom.
Yeah.
It wasn't before, but if you look up, if you look up petition definition, it typically is talking about a group of people coming together with a common purpose. And because ours is wide open, we have people coming to us and saying, here is a petition, I'm the only one that signed it,
Mhm.
and you have to put this on your agenda within the next 3 meetings. And
But on the other side of that coin, Dave, you know, if I got that one person petition, I was the mayor at that time, and it was something that was really like off the wall, you
Yeah.
know, I would put on the agenda, call that person up, let them speak for their 3 minutes, thank you very much, next, and you move on. But you at least got that person a chance to get up, and after a while, you know, it never was a problem, I mean,
No, it has.
I haven't seen it, you know.
And I've done, Tom, exactly what you said. And this isn't for me, I couldn't care, I'll let people have their 3 minutes. Let me just give an example. We got a petition from an individual, it had one word on it. It said transparency. So our legal people said, we can't put this on the agenda because it doesn't have enough specifics. It would be an open meeting law violation to put this on the agenda because nobody, the citizens don't know what it's about. And as a result of that, he received a bar complaint.
Oh, jeez.
And the Attorney General received a complaint about us, and the way we handled it.
Somebody's pretty sharp to get that out.
So, anyway, I'm just bringing that up. Is it a problem? Sure. Is it a giant pain in the butt? No, but it is.
You know,
And
when
it's-
the charter first started, and we started with the one-person petition, I still remember my first term, and that's after 10 years of having the charter out there, 8 to 10 years. I had to deal with Debbie Anderson, I had to deal with Barry Cavani, I had 2 recall petitions. I mean, we had the nut cases, they were out there. you know, and you deal with them, but
A
I don't know.
long tradition.
it's never been a problem. I don't see the one person, the one name, you know, it's just my own personal opinion. And I did that, I had a personal reason for doing that, and my personal reason was the mayor wouldn't put things on the agenda.
Uh-huh.
And so I used that only once, only had to do it once, and where I walked down off the podium and went up to the call to the public and gave my petition and told them that I wanted it on the agenda, and that's how I got my thing on the agenda. And then Lefty never did it again, so.
See, I don't really see anything wrong with, I mean, I understand the situation. But one citizen should be able to petition the government.
Right.
I really do believe that. I don't
You
think.
believe what, you
I
said
think
one person should be able to do that?
to petition their government, yes.
I mean,
Yeah, I disagree with that myself.
that's just my feeling, you know.
I was only bringing up the reality of it. Like I said,
Right.
I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm letting you know that, yeah, there are some issues with it.
But the whole idea, the example you gave of transparency, that's not a petition.
Well,
Petition
Yes, it
has
was.
to be asked some,
no,
yeah, but I
but they
mean,
put it in as a petition. And once they put it in as a petition, it has to be considered as a petition.
Even though it didn't make sense.
And so this particular one went to what? To 2 levels, went from the council to, legal to the attorney general.
General's on, yeah.
So,
Just driving.
and that, you know, that's a lot of money. There's nothing wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong with limiting to 15 people on a petition or something like that. So you have some idea of that there's some
What they're
support for
petitioning.
something. And, you know, if
And-
people are serious about it, they'll get their 15 or 10 or 20 signatures or
No.
whatever.
And
Yeah,
15
that will-
people aren't
that-
gonna allow transparency to go through, right? Like that,
Right,
they're
right.
gonna want more definition.
Yeah, I think you
but
get
I have to
15
tell you,
signatures.
I've done this with my neighborhood watching, it is hard to get 5 people to sign a petition sometimes. You know, I mean, we did this with our speed humps, you know, and you can get the neighborhood to do it, so.
Well, I mean, so if you can't get people to sign on
But
to a
it is-
petition for something,
Well, but
then
the
then
reason
you don't
why
have
they
support
won't,
for it.
yeah, but the reason why they won't sign the petition could be an issue too. I don't want my name on this, I don't want the mayor to
It
know.
could be, I
what-
know, but you
yeah.
can't, you know, I don't, just.
We're right down into the
One
basics
person,
of
one
government
vote, one person, one vote, you know, it's the same thing.
You know, as long as there's call to the public, people can voice their objection to something going on.
Maybe you need to define what a petition is.
We left it real nebulous for
Yeah.
a reason. One person, really vague, and make it easy for anybody to get up there and, you know, call for your hearing. And if you keep abusing it, you know, after a while, people just, they don't give you any time, they're not gonna listen to you.
No, but the problem is the council has to deal with it, and sometimes.
I did 10 years on the council, Fred, how long did you do?
I didn't do anything on the
Okay.
council, but I've seen
All right,
petitions
but
come with
it's
very
not-
little
It hasn't been a
support.
problem in the past, it hasn't.
No, it has.
Well,
He just
okay.
he just told you that it's been a problem.
It might-
It's a problem in terms of time, it's been a problem in terms of money.
Okay.
You know, we just kind of disagree about that, I think. And, you know, that, people have to work a little bit to get there, if they've got an issue and stuff, they have to kind of work a little bit.
I like to see
get some
open
support.
government where anybody can at any time come in and ask questions and get answers.
There's no
That's just,
stopping
that's
that.
just how I feel.
Okay, but now who set up, you know, you could petition, now where's the rules for how this petition is handled? It's not in the charter.
That's why I left
It's
wide
an
open.
ordinance that's taking care of that, right?
We have
So
a
you have to
forum.
go through all the things you just said. You know, it has to go to the council, they get their 3 minutes, blah, 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 that's not in the charter. So anybody can petition, but the rules for how that petition gets handled are not in the charter.
It has to be heard within 3 meetings, so
Yeah,
it
it's
does
in-
specify that.
Okay.
And the council has to take action.
Action means, you know, you could be pretty small.
It's a step up from just call the public. They can get up there and do anything they want, including pull a rabbit out of a hat. But a petition means they've got to at least read it and address it.
Both
It
of
gives
the
it a little
public,
more force.
the council and the mayor are prohibited from speaking on anything you're asking them. You know, you can go up there and say anything you want, but they can't talk back to you. Whereas a petition makes them have to talk, answer questions, or at least talk about it.
I agree with Tom on that. I think one vote is one petition. Yeah, I know there are people, we know who she is.
We've all had to deal with them. We've all had artists that don't like us, but.
Yeah, but that's just the price of democracy, I think.
Should we make a motion on this?
To leave
If you're
it,
not changing it, you
you
don't
don't
need
have
to
to
make
make a
a motion.
motion,
Just discussion.
unless somebody wants to make a motion to change it.
Well, I will yield to the people that feel very strongly about this, so. I disagree, but
Thank you.
I'm not
I second
gonna
that.
hold- No, I'm not gonna hold something up and put it to a vote when it's a kind of divided opinion and stuff here.
Okay, so we're agreeing, we'll meet April 19th, 5:30.
13th. Boy,
I've got some other meeting, and you will bring us the list of what we've done.
April 13th.
Yeah. And, we'll just get
not
that
a
list
Friday.
at nine.
I'll get it to you ahead of time, because I know it
It's
will
a
be a
Monday.
lot to go over.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to
Do you have April
skip,
13th?
when I do the document with all the things that we've done, I'm just
Friday.
gonna skip the gender stuff, because
'Cause
we
we
did a
already
lot of
know.
gender work,
Yeah.
but if we're just gonna have the blanket statement,
Mhm.
then we should be good, right?
And I'll have an answer as to
Okay,
where we're
then
headed.
that'll clean up the document quite a
Yep.
bit too. Okay, great.
good.
Anything else, Liam?
I move, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No, let's stay.
Namaste.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Move right in. I like these discussions about